7:30, no elephants, and my expectation is to get off to a great start.
Hello, my name is Hannah Witten, and I am also feeling very overwhelmed starting off school. I am a third grade teacher at Colonial Elementary. I'm also the secretary of the Teachers Association. Missing has been noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and let's get off to a great start.
My name is Samantha Howard. I am grateful for the colleagues that I work with, but frustrated with the state of things at the moment. I'm a full-time PCT at Harms Marsh Middle. Missing has been noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and I'd like to get off to a great start.
Hi, my name is Amy Johnson. I am a teacher, 6th grade language arts teacher at Mariner Middle School. I'm a little stressed right now, worried about my students and colleagues, and honestly hoping that this year would be way different than last year, but it feels just like the same old stuff again. Missing's been noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and my expectations are get off to a great start.
Hi, my name is Shay Pearson. I am a testing coordinator at Heartland Coast High School and also the treasurer of TALC. I could say I'm tired. This year is, I know Amy said that it was very similar to last year. I think we're actually worse than we were last year. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and I concur with get off to a great start. Thank you.
Hello, my name is LaShonda Hutchins Cologne. I am a math coach, the math coach at Franklin Park Elementary. I am tired. I am looking forward to the 3-day weekend. I'm sorry, missing has been noted. No time constraints, no elephants, and again, I want to get out to a good start as well.
Hi, my name is Iris Grimaldi. I'm a school social worker. I'm tired as well, but most of all, I'm extremely concerned about the health and safety and wellness of both our students and our staff. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and my expectations are to get off to a great start.
Good evening, I'm Christina Sterrett, and I am a full-time art teacher, kindergarten through 5th grade at Tortuga Preserve Elementary School. I, like most of the people here, are extremely tired, and it's only the 3rd week. We ended the 3rd week today. In addition to that, I'm extremely concerned for my colleagues and my administrators and my students throughout the school, as we are short many teachers, which means extra work for all the other teachers as well. Other than that, I'm doing okay and making it through day by day. I am assuming all of the missing are noted, time constraints just finished on time, no elephants, and my expectation is to get off to a good start.
Good evening, my name is Bob Scovatullo, and I teach mathematics at Three Oaks Middle School, and I'm also the area coordinator for TALC. And this is beginning my 35th year in Lee County, in the district. I didn't mean that for an applause. I thought that last year we would be over it, but as Yogi Berra would say, it's deja vu all over again, +1. I thought that we'd be done with it, but we're not. And it's worse now than it ever has been. And unfortunately, it's only the 4th week of school and we're already there. As far as everything else goes, missing has been noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, at least in this room. expectations would be to get off to a great start.
My name is Louis Fisher. I'm the Director of Bands at Gateway High School. Just like everybody else, I guess, especially being a band director, I'm tired, I'm wore out, my feet hurt, my back hurt, stressed out, all that. Missing has been noted. I have no time constraints. I have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to elephants. And my expectations are, since I guess I'm the new guy, just learning what the process is about and chip in as best I can and make a difference.
Yeah, an elephant is something that is bothering you where, when you have an elephant, you tell us what it is, we chart it, and, then we will come back to it after check-in is done and ask you if, in spite of that elephant, can you proceed with tonight's session? Or do we need to address that elephant further? So it's something, it can be anything that's bothering them, either to do with negotiations or to do with something else and outside of negotiations. But that's what an elephant is. It's just to get everything out on the table so we kind of leave the rest of the world outside and it's able to deal in here. Okay? Thanks, Bonnie. Shannon? Oh, no, Will was going to do it.
Hi, I'm Will Rothenberg. I'm Director of Compensation and Labor Relations for the district, and I will be the Chief Negotiator. I'm doing all right. I think the same as everyone has mentioned already, a little bit overwhelmed with where we're at this school year. Missing has been noted. Time constraints, none. Elephants. Not really an elephant, but just want to, again, kind of acknowledge that on the district side and the TALC side, there's been some change in who's seated at the table and that kind of stuff. Hopeful that we can continue to work through the interest-based process to come to some sort of collaborative solutions to whatever issues it is that are before us. I guess that was kind of an expectation.
A long one.
Get off to a great start.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Gatewood, Director of Financial Services. I'm doing okay. Missing, I think we need to add Ken Hutchins.
Oh, yeah.
No time constraints, no elephants, and expectation to get off to a great start.
Good evening. My name is Heather Leonard. I'm the Director of Staffing and Talent Management in HR.
I'm doing okay today. It's been a rough Monday, like many of you had, but we'll get through it together. Who's missing? I believe Ken Hutchins is missing, and that's been noted. I don't have any time constraints or elephants this evening, and my expectations is to get off to a good start.
I'm Carl Burnside, principal at Dunbar High School, serving as a high school rep. I am tired, frustrated, weary, concerned, and even overwhelmed with what we are dealing with this year. You know, for my 36 years in this district, I used to always hear people say every year, and I would get frustrated, I'll get poo-pooed when they would say, this is the worst it's ever been. It's one of those things you hear almost every spring. And I would just sort of poo-poo it away. So now for the first time in my career, I'm actually saying this is the worst it's ever been. And it's going to be tough for all of us. And that's the one common thread that we're all together in, because I have never experienced some of the emotional swings that I've in my entire career that I'm experiencing this year, as many of you are. I think it's already been said it was missing. I have no time constraints. Even though this year I was almost tempted not to do bargaining this year with the overwhelming, and that's after 20-something years thing, I might be the longest standing person now. But I decided that my commitment to the district, I needed to stick with it. So that's what really brought me back. But expectations, I hope we get off to a great start.
Hello, my name is Amy Desamore, and I am fine. I keep trying to say that because I feel like I can speak it into existence, so I'll say I'm fine. I am the Chief Financial Officer with the district, and the message has been noted, no time constraints if we're done at 7:30, no elephants, and my expectations are that we get off to a great start.
Good evening. My name is Christine Trode. I am a staff attorney here. I am okay. I'm very busy, overwhelmed, a lot going on. Missing has been noted. I do not have any time constraints past 7:30, no elephants, and I'm going to go with the same expectation, is to get off to a great start.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ben Austin. I'm the principal at Bayshore Elementary School. It's my first day back to work in 2 weeks. I am definitely better than I was before. I think I actually caught myself saying the same thing Carl said. This is the worst it seems like it has ever been. But we're gonna get through this. And missing is noted, no time constraints, no elephants, and then get off to a great start.
I'm just having to start these things. Hi, I'm Rachel Gold. I am here. I'm principal at Memorandum Middle School, and I'm here till 7:30. No elephants. Expectations is that we treat each other with kindness.
Good afternoon, my name is Bonnie McFarland. I am the Director of Insurance and Benefits for the school district. I am here, and I guess, okay. I think the missing has been noted. I don't have any time constraints for this meeting or any elephants for this meeting, and expectation is get off to a great start.
My name is Jessica Duncan. I'm the Executive Director for Student Services. I feel the same way many of you have already stated, but also I am excited to be here tonight. I was really looking forward to meeting back with our bargaining group. I think as tired as many people have stated we're here, and it's exciting to be with a passionate group of people who feel like the work we do is important. So I am tired and excited. I already told you my position. We know who's missing. I have no time constraints. I have no elephants. And my expectations are to get off to a great start.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Rivera. I am okay, but hopeful. My position in the district is Assistant Director of Recruitment. Missing is noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and my expectations are to learn from everyone tonight.
Good evening, my name is Helen Martin. I'm the Assistant Director of Professional Development. I'm doing okay, taking everything one day at a time, and just remaining grateful to be here and be healthy tonight. Who is missing is noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and my expectations are to get off to a great start.
I'm Shanna Fletcher,
and I am thankful for my health and the health of my family at this time. I'm emotionally exhausted. It seems like it's hitting close to home, COVID, and a lot of people that we know are being affected. So let's see. I'm Executive Director for School Development. no time constraints, no elephants. And my expectation is that we all treat each other with respect and kindness as we work through the process that we know that works. Sorry.
I'll give that 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I think we got everybody around the table, so go ahead.
I'm Amy French. I am a coordinator of professional development. I was asked to come fill in tonight. I am grateful for you all to be here because this is a very important process. I'm excited because I always enjoy the bargaining process. So I'm hoping that we can get good work done. I don't know who's missing. I don't have any time constraints, although Amanda is learning, so she'll be taking over from me soon. I don't have any elephants, and my expectations are to get off to a great start.
Amanda, would you like to check in?
Sure.
Okay, my name is Amanda Guzman. I'm a teacher on assignment in recruitment. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to learning the process. This is my first experience. The missing is noted. I have no time constraints, no elephants, and I will also get off the great first meeting and show me grace if I mess up.
Shannon, does this capture what you said? Treat each other with respect and kindness and respect the process?
Sure. Okay.
All right, we're gonna hang these papers. Do we have blue tape anywhere? Oh. Thank you. Okay. With that, we normally have printed agendas, but we don't this evening. Things have been developing as the day has gone on. So, yeah. Oh, they are in the binder. Are there changes to that agenda, Will?
No,
Okay. So the agendas are in the binders. If you haven't opened your binder, and you have an extra copy. Thanks. So we've done check-in. Wonderful job. I heard a recurring theme around the room, however. So I really appreciate all of you being here tonight with all the other things that are going on in your professional and personal lives. So the next thing we do, since it's our first meeting, is to establish norms. And I think all of you have probably developed norms before in groups and meetings, etc. So this is no different than any other place you might develop norms. We will have the norms here every night, every time we meet, and we will hang them, and we can add to them anytime we want. So for our norms this evening, what would you like? Will?
I know that this was a request last time, especially since we're here in person and there are people tuning in on YouTube. So we just asked that everyone use kind of the mask microphone etiquette, make sure that you can be heard, so that those people that are not in the room are able to follow along with the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Jill?
Honor the process.
Okay. Let's let Amy finish writing that last one.
Got it.
Okay. Anybody else? Jill again?
I'm being encouraged by my team to add some more.
Okay.
Avoid sidebars.
For those of you who may not know what a sidebar is, that's when a couple of people may be talking about things that we're discussing or need to be discussed while we're operating or somebody else is giving their part of the story. And I know it's going to happen, it always happens, but if we can keep it at a minimum, as Jill said, to avoid that, that would be helpful. Jill?
Begin and end on time.
And sometimes we do end a little earlier, but I've never heard anybody complain about that, so. Jill?
Minimize cell phone usage.
Make sure all your cell phones are off right now, please. Jill?
Be present.
Jill?
Stay on topic.
And Jill?
Have the minutes sent out to the team for review in a timely fashion.
We will do our best, again, at that, again, kind of changing teams and everything. We appreciate your patience as we work to get that to you.
Anything else for the norm at this time? Kevin?
You can go to the bathroom when you want. I have yet to develop teacher bladder after 21 years, so if you need to go to the bathroom, please go to the bathroom.
And on the same time frame, if you need a break, you know, usually I try to read the room and see if we need a break, but if you think your team needs a break or anything, or you need to caucus, please call that, ask for that at any point. We can break at any time. Anything else? Yes, Will.
One other one I know that we've had in the past, maintaining confidentiality so that we're talking about issues, not individuals. I know that sometimes comes up when we're talking about disciplinary or health or personnel matters.
Well, it's just okay to maintain confidentiality.
Maintain confidentiality is fine, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Okay.
We don't count for stuff.
Right.
We still love you and appreciate you. I don't really watch me stand up. I'll help you.
All right, if there's no other, let's just go over them quickly because I know everybody can't see this. Use mask microphone etiquette so you can be heard. Honor the process, avoid sidebars, begin and end on time, minimize cell phone usage, be present, stay on topic, have minutes sent out in a timely fashion, use the restroom as needed, and maintain confidentiality. Is there anything else? Okay. With that, I think we've got our norms set for tonight anyway. As I said, we can always add to these norms when needed. All right. There's a little paper change here. Kerr.
Do we need a consensus vote on the norms?
Yes, we do. Thank you. All right, I just reread them. I don't think I need to reread them again. All those who approve these norms, can I see by your thumbs up, sideways? All right, we have consensus on the norms. As I said, we'll post those every time we meet. Next on the agenda is calendar, and I know several meeting dates were sent out. Our next one is what?
So I think that we were trying to schedule for every other Monday. I know that next Monday is obviously long weekend, followed by a holiday, followed by a board meeting. So I don't know if we were wanting to come back and have TALC, or if SPALC was going to be meeting next. I don't know if Kevin and Kerr have had a chance to talk to Jamie and Elizabeth about.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I think there was some consensus around SPALC starting, I can't remember the exact date, Jamie. had shared with me. I know next week is Labor Day, sorry, I'm already in May. Labor Day, and then, I think that might have been Jamie up next or something, so I think it's an opportunity for Spout to get started as well. I don't want to haul the whole load.
Will?
So that would put us with, Spout then on September 13th and TALC coming back September 20th. And I know we'll have TALC labor management in between.
And so projecting that out, I will not be here on October 18th. So we'll have to, maybe we can give Jamie a twofer and just give some people the night off. But I won't be here October 18th. So every other Monday is fine, just as long as we kind of adhere to that October 18th date.
And I will not be here October 11th. So if you can get another facilitator,
We got a bunch right here.
that'll be fine to still do, because October 11th is one of the dates I was sent. All right, so if TALC meets on the 27th, do you want to set the next date? 2 weeks after that? Oh, 20th. Right.
I think we can schedule every other Monday, just to have the place reserved kind of for the rest of the semester. I think that's how we've done it in the past.
Okay. Usually, Will's office will send out the dates to everyone, and if it becomes an issue, or we can go through them all now, or not all of them, but maybe another couple of them. All right, so if we meet on the 20th, the next one would be Spelt on the 27th, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
TALC on the 4th?
TALC on October 4th?
Not on the 18th.
And not on the 18th, correct?
That would put us on the 25th.
Stop could be on, I'm uncomfortable assigning dates for Jamie's bargaining.
Right. We'll do that first one and say that they want the 13th and let them schedule after that. How's that? Will?
And like I said, we'll have TALC and Spout labor management kind of between now and that early October. So if they're able to schedule and you guys want to switch weeks, we can try to accommodate that. Even if it's just for that one window.
All right, so that puts us, October 25th would be the next one for TALC. Possibly, unless you switch them with Bell. Yeah, Bob.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the times too. I mean, is it going to be 4:30 or is it going to be 5? Because I know that there was confusion about tonight's meeting because originally it was going to be 5 to 7, like it always was, and then all of a sudden it got changed. And I just want to make sure that we're on the right path here as far as what time. Well, 4 to 7. I'm sorry. It was supposed to be 4 to 7, not 4:30 to 7:30. But I didn't find out until like the last minute that the times were changed.
Okay. Will?
I think either way works for us. I know that specifically middle school people, we're trying to be cognizant of the fact that some people have that travel time. I also know that with what we're experiencing this year, buses are getting off the ramp a little bit later. People are out of parent pickup a little bit later, and so we didn't want anyone to feel.
I mean, I don't have a problem with 4:30.
Okay.
As long as everybody else is on the same page.
Is the start time at 4:30 okay with everybody?
Can I ask a question too?
Sure.
Does that still give you guys time, you know, for pre-meeting? Because I think that was one of the other things that we wanted to make sure that the teams were able to kind of meet independently before.
Good question. Kirk?
Yes, Will, the email that you sent to principals notifying, you know, the principals of our bargaining team members, notifying them that they need to be here by 3:30 or so, that really helps. So the 4:30 time should be all right. And Donna, while I have the mic, if you want, let's just pencil in September 20th and October 4th, and then we can do the other dates at labor management.
Okay. All right, is that okay? Well, all right, so we have September 20th and October 4th penciled in. September 13th for a STALC start for those of you lucky enough to be on both teams. You can put that in your calendars now. Anything else for calendar then? Okay, and it'll be a 4:30 start for all meetings unless otherwise notified. Okay, next on the agenda is an overview of the interest-based process, and Bob.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm clear as far as the administration knowing. Were the administrators told that that TALC needed to be here at 3:30? Because I don't remember ever seeing that.
I believe that we sent the invite for the calendar time to them. If we need to let them know that that's what time your pre-meeting takes place, we can do that.
Great.
I know with people changing schools and with new administrators, there were a couple of administrators that said, do I have to be there? And we said, no, you know, you have someone on the TALC bargaining team, but we can help iron that out. And if anyone has any difficulty,
That'd be great.
let us know.
Yeah, because the one I got was just that I had to be here at 4:30. There was no, I didn't see anything about the 3:30 to, and I didn't get any flack from anybody. But,
Yeah.
you know, that would be great though, if you send it out to the administrators, let them know that I'm gonna be here at 3:30. Thank you, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, anything else before we move on? All right, I've referred to the interest-based process a couple of times. And some of you were in the quick session I did last week, the Zoom that I did last week, but interest-based, as Carl said, I think he and I are the last two surviving members that are still participating in the process. Started in the year 2000 with our bargaining in 2000, the whole month of July, every day, felt one day, felt the next day, until the contract was done. At that time, we had consultants that were paid for by the district, and they stayed with us for a few years, and then we kind of morphed out and developed our own process. Had individuals trained in facilitating and scribing, and that brings us to today. So for 21 years, and somebody else mentioned that too when they were doing check-in, how this has worked. How it's kept us working collegially, together, collaboratively, how it has stopped a lot of anger and strife, not that you get rid of it all, not that everybody's ever happy with the decisions, but it has made a huge difference in the relationship between everybody in the district. And we've been able to carry it on through many, many changes over the years. And both TALC and the district are committed to continuing that process. So the process contains, with first the check-in as we did earlier today, and that's basically done every meeting, kind of, as I said earlier, to get you into the room and to know everybody who's in the room. We will not always do what you do for the district, but for the first meeting or so, we like to do that so everybody knows who does what. Some of you have been on both teams for a while, so you know each other pretty well. As Jessica mentioned, being here, she's kind of excited too, because she gets to talk about education in a meaningful way, which is a big part of this. The first thing we do, of course, is a check-in, and then we set the norms already. We won't have to do that again unless somebody wants to add some. We do the calendar, which every once in a while we revisit that, but that's not every meeting either. And then both teams have decided what they want to talk about from the contract. So tonight, there are some things we have to discuss tonight because of things that are going on with COVID. And we will talk about those tonight, but normally we would do what's called snapshots, which is would go over every article and everything you want to talk about, do a brief synopsis of what it is, and then go back to it. But we're doing things a little differently tonight, so we'll probably skip the snapshots. Then it's story time. And we invite everyone to participate in the story. What is the reason we are talking about this issue? After story, and story can be as long as or short as you want it, we just ask that you kind of try not to repeat what somebody else has already said. But that's okay too if you want to. And we invite everyone to participate. I know some of you are brand new to the process and you might like to observe a little bit first, but once you get used to it, nobody judges what you say. As Will said, we try to keep everything in here, although we are on YouTube, so what you say is out there, and this is a public meeting. We just can't have face-to-face at this time, as last year. After story, we're going to create interest. Why are we looking at that problem? What are our interests for that? Is it because we have to? Compliance issues? Is it because it's going to help recruitment and retention? Is it because it's going to help student achievement? Why are we looking at that particular issue? After the interest, we do a little brainstorming. That's when we come up with options. And I know everybody has done brainstorming in different meetings, different conferences, different sessions, and it's no different here. Any idea is acceptable. As I've said in my trainings many times, years ago we were doing a transportation issue thing. They couldn't get enough drivers, surprise, surprise. That's never been a problem. And we had a special session with both TALC and SPELC. We had 108 options up on the board. And the option that the press picked out to decide to put in the paper was that we were going to give every student a bicycle to ride to school. So we wouldn't have to worry about buses or drivers. Of course, that didn't happen, but that's the type of thing. But 108 options, so put options galore up. Whatever you think about is acceptable. But then, and nobody will judge until we go back to evaluate those options. And like with the 108, we just went through real quickly and said, oh, come on, the bicycle thing's not realistic, let's get that out, and started crossing off things that there's no way it could work, or that it was affordable. Amy and Mike. So we started crossing a lot of things off and came down for a solution, which may have fixed the problem at that time, but not permanently. But anyway, after we evaluate, we come up with the options. We may have several options we want to put together. Then we create what's called a straw design. And we might make several of those options as part of the straw design. After the straw designs are done, we will do the thumbs up. Remember, thumbs up, you totally agree with it, you'll go out and support it. Thumb to the side, it may not be your favorite, but you will support the decision. and then thumbs down. You can not support that decision as written or at this time, but if you put your thumb down, I'm going to ask you, or somebody, whoever's facilitating is going to ask you, why is your thumb down? What can we do to make this better for you? Or for what you think could be better for the district? And, you know, then the whole group will discuss it, and we won't move on usually we don't move on until we get your thumb at least to the side, or until everybody else thinks your idea is a great idea, and let's go with that added to what we already have. So that happens too. And then after that, we have what's called implementation. And when everything is all said and done, and that is done, worked out in this room, who's going to do what? When is the vote going to be? Who's going to get the materials together for the vote for the teachers and the school board, get the agenda items to the school board, and that is all worked out as well. And then that's it. Now, a lot of people are not fond of interest-based process because sometimes it does take a little longer because stories can go on for days. So sometimes, but it's also good to hear everybody's point of view and how it affects them, how it affects the group they're representing, how it affects the district, how it affects our students. So with that, that's the short version of IB, and I hope it continues and we can keep moving it forward. So with that, anybody else want to add anything? Her.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. One thing I wanted to add is part of the interest-based process is that the folks on the team, the folks at the table, are empowered to reach consensus and make a deal. And it will start at the check-in on that side, talking about the number of changes at the district, since the end of the year. And I think the most notable change that we've seen is the change in chief negotiator. So I'm hoping that you can help put the concern to rest here, because when Kevin and I signed the COVID MOU, the one that's going to go out for ratification, we signed on behalf of TALC, and it caused us some concern when we met with the superintendent, and he wanted to delay his signature until some other folks had some eyes on it. That's just outside of the process. So has the employer or the board delegated the proper authority to the chief negotiator so that both teams can bargain in good faith and ultimately reach consensus?
Yes, I have a delegation of authority letter from Dr. Savage signed today, kind of clearing that issue up. I'm hopeful again that whatever decisions we make in here are ones that everyone at least can get to a thumb sideways on, and that we walk away knowing that, like you're saying, we have the support of the people in this room, and that then really the only hurdle that we have left to clear is then the ratification vote, whether that's board ratification, whether that's bargaining unit ratification. But yes, I've got that, and I can get you guys a copy of that if that is something that you'd like for your files.
Kevin?
I've kind of been told that we sound like a Charlie Brown meeting. Like wah, 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 wah. I'm not sure how we fix that. Did they say they could hear Donna okay? They said they could hear you okay, Donna. Okay. You were like the person they could hear clearly, and so I don't know how we kind of move around, but that's the report from the field.
Is that about my voice? I will do my best not to do my wah-wah.
I think it's everybody but Donna. I think it's where it's at this point. So I don't know. Okay.
All right, everybody, when you speak, try to speak a little louder than maybe you normally would, or a little slower than you normally might. Will?
We'll go back and look at the video too. I mean, if we have issues, you know, with some of that, obviously, you know, we're taking minutes, we've got the charts to refer back to. But if things aren't clear enough for the viewing audience, we'll work on things. I know, last year we had the issue where the microphones, I think you guys had the other side, so you could hear you clearly in that room, but not in this room. I know, you know, Mike experienced the feedback issue, he was always up there messing with the control panel. I think we tried to put the media part under the speaker in the room, which, you know, puts it pointed right over some people's shoulders. We're gonna look and try and see if there's another place that we can put it so it maybe focuses on the screen a little bit more for when we're displaying stuff up there on the screen. That maybe takes it off of people's faces, which is not ideal. But again, just trying to make sure that, you know, people viewing remotely are able to access whatever information we're discussing.
Okay, we'll try our best to rectify that situation. Anything else to add to the interface? Will?
One other thing, just, and I'll pass the mic on this, but I know, Donna, like you mentioned, there was a common theme in terms of everyone feeling kind of stressed, overwhelmed at this point. Some of it, you know, work-related, some of it just life-related. I know we did this last year, and so would want to try and make a habit of it, but to have Bonnie share some of the employee assistance program information for anyone who feels like that might be helpful. Not saying anything directed towards anyone in this room, but anyone viewing in case that's of benefit and they're not aware.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Bonnie McFarland. I'm the Director of Insurance and Benefits for the school district. And one benefit that all employees in the school district have, regardless of their benefit eligibility status, but if they're regular employees within the district, they have access to the Employee Assistance Program. And I know last year, one of the challenges that I issued was if you don't have an account with the EAP, I strongly suggest you set one up. Because it's not just about needing a counselor to talk to, which of course would be a wonderful benefit, and you do have that benefit as part of the EAP, where you can get 8 in-person sessions at no charge to you. But there's also an absolute wealth of information within the EAP website itself, with some self-directed journeys. There's financial planning information, there's assistance with child care and elder care. So if you haven't gone onto the EAP website, I would encourage you to do so. If it's your first time, you can click create an account and just follow the prompts to create an account for yourself. And if you've been on it before, obviously, hopefully you can just go right in. But there's also some help to reset your password if it's been a while and you've forgotten. So hopefully that's helpful both to the folks who are in this room and also to anybody that you may come into contact with, that is a free benefit that you can take advantage of, either on your computer with some of the learning opportunities, or to speak directly with a counselor if you so need so.
All right, and I know from my days with the district, that was always a benefit we've had for many years, and they're a very good resource, and everything's confidential, so please don't be concerned about anything you say to any counselor or anything. So with that, anything else? Will?
I guess to kind of move to the next item in the agenda, and I know that we're due to send information out about this, but I know Kerr mentioned the MOU, and so I don't know if it would be worthwhile to go over some of the highlights of that so people kind of know where things stand. But I'll do my best version of a brief overview, and I'll try and make it as brief as possible. Basically, we met with TALC and SPALC separately to talk about what parts of the MOU that was agreed to last year would we be able to reinstate, and where were some areas where we might need to have some additional discussion. So we went through, again, what was agreed upon in here, what was ratified by the bargaining unit, approved by the board, and we started with that. And we worked our way through some of those issues. It'll be posted online. We'll be sharing information out with principals and I think TALC reps so that they have that and can respond to some of the questions. But it addresses kind of in large part safe and secure conditions. So cleaning supplies and procedures, social distancing, safety equipment, some of those different items that were in there last year. Emergency plans, symptom screening, quarantine procedures, again, all things that were covered in the MOU last year and should look very familiar. We talked about, assignment of duties and how we were aware that there's some shuffling of that and kind of reiterated what's already in the contract about how that assignment of duties is supposed to work and what it's supposed to look like. Some of the instruction, I know that TALC wanted to make sure that we reiterated about specifically, use of technology and what the expectations were around some of those items and best practices, were captured last year. It's got stuff about work schedule, what we're doing in terms of school-hosted events, which I know last year we were talking about open houses, fall festival type stuff. What we would do in the event of a temporary school or work site closure. Obviously, that's something that we're hoping to avoid, but it is something that we experienced the year before last. Performance evaluation stuff I know has already been discussed some in TALC labor management, and we will continue that conversation in the evaluation committee. And then these are probably two big items of interest to people. There was the qualified disaster relief payments that were issued to a number of members of the instructional staff, but not all. I think the state used basically the same parameters that they've used in the past for things like best and brightest, which obviously has kind of a weird definition of who is or is not a classroom teacher. One of the things that we discussed was a district and TALC shared an interest in supporting all staff members and by providing that same $1,000 net payment to people who did not receive the check from the state. That is scheduled for a December payment, but again, wanted to make everyone aware that that's something that we've already agreed to that will be taking place. The December payment date, I think, is intended to allow for people that are hired on now after the start of the school year to still receive that payment. It wasn't to delay payment, it was so that more people would be caught in that kind of net of eligibility. The other item, and this is a retention effort, was we agreed to have language added to the TALC contract last year that allowed for payment of the increase for career ladder movement early if we were able to. Our early numbers show that there were about 500 people that are going to be moving on the career ladder. Those notifications have not been sent out yet, but we do have now the authority to issue payment to those people in a more timely manner rather than them waiting until bargaining is complete. And I think that was something that we were trying to do through regular bargaining, but again, it is supposed to be a retention effort to support those people that jumped through those hoops and did all the things that they were asked to do before June 30th. The other big item in terms of leave was 10 days for a single incident for an employer-directed absence due to things related to COVID-19. I know we had the Family First Corona Relief Act last year that provided federal funding to support that. And then in the second half of the year, I believe we amended our MOU to add a second 10 days. This is being district funded. One of the differences with this is that it's 10 days, up to 10 days for a single incident. So if I'm out for 7 days, that's my single incident. I don't get 3 days on a second incident. The one, I would say, exception to that is that we did have a separate up to 10 days single incident for caregivers. So if you have a child that's sent home, if you have an elderly parent that you care for, a disabled family member, that has to quarantine, you have that up to 10 days for a single incident for them. And then we made a commitment to try and look at some of the remote work eligibility status for different positions, so that if people are able to avoid having to use that, if they're sent home, they're asymptomatic, they would like to work, that we are able to offer them that option so that they're not using those days or their sick leave. That's retroactive back to July 1st. So I know we're a couple weeks into the school year. I believe that there was a process that was being discussed to allow people the opportunity to go back and for principals to kind of correct on some of those. There's language in there about confidentiality of employee medical records and that sort of stuff. Again, that's just kind of general carryover language. And then we'll continue to use the participatory decision-making process, all of our committees, school and district-based, to try and work through issues as they arise, with the ability to come back and modify that MOU or have amendments to it if necessary. The only other thing, and this is probably more of a STALC thing than a TALC thing, but might be of interest, is that we did continue with support staff that paras and helping teachers are able to provide classroom coverage in emergency situations, and will receive additional pay for that. I know, again, that's something that people felt like was helpful last year. We have some data on how that looked that we're looking into, but those were kind of the immediate measures that we were able to discuss and agree to in TALC labor management. There were some other items that I think were tabled because they required more conversation and the feedback from this group before moving forward. And so I think one of the goals of tonight would be to try and discuss some or a few of those if possible. And that's where the ESSER funding, which, if I can remember it, is Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Act. That's federal funding that's been made available to states, and that the district has asked the state to authorize us to use in order to provide additional supports. Dr. Desmore may be able to share more about amounts and time periods and that kind of stuff, but I know that some of that money was put out last year, and all of that money has kind of a deadline on in terms of when you have to submit the request for the money, when you have to spend it by. There's limits and constraints on how it can be used, and so again, just kind of an overview for anyone who wasn't otherwise aware of some of those conversations that have taken place.
Said about the paras, they cover taxes and receive what? Was it supplement or receive?
They're receiving $30 per day in addition to what their regular pay is. And that's for emergency classroom coverage only. And I know the process was communicated out to principals in terms of you have to go through leave management, and there has to be the vacancy. The person has to be in there for a set amount of time. It can't be just, you covered while someone ran to the restroom, sort of thing.
Okay, does anybody have anything else to add to the story about the MOU, or we'll get it all covered pretty well? Kurt?
I'll just add that, it's currently available on the TALC website. I don't know if it's available on the district website yet, but, it is live on our website.
You beat us to it.
But it will be put live on the district website, put on the.
Yes, it'll be put on there, and we're gonna send out, communication on how, some of the processes around some of that stuff.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else have any questions, concerns about the MOU? Okay, with that, do we want to move on to the Ursa?
Sure, so,
Or do we need a break? No? Ready to move on? Okay, looks like everybody's ready to move on.
So I'll throw out there two of the items to kind of begin with in terms of things that we discussed in terms of ESSER funding that were kind of left on the table. One of which I think we got a little bit further along in the conversation with, because there's already existing contract language, and that's classroom coverage. I believe it's 10.04 maybe in the contract. And I'll give a little bit of the background again on what was discussed and what was put out there. And I don't know, Kevin and Kurt, if you guys want to give some of the immediate reaction. I don't know how much of that you guys have had a chance to discuss with your team. But basically, I think there was an acknowledgement that a lot of people are being asked to cover classes. There's vacancies in classrooms, where we've lost people, over the summer. There's classrooms where teachers are out sick or sent home, to quarantine. One of the things that was discussed was the additional burden that places on the teachers that are asked to step in and fill in for those classes. There's that existing contract language around how classroom coverage, which would be the loss of your planning time in most cases, how people are supposed to be compensated for that, and so that they aren't having to take time out of their own personal day after work hours to make up that planning time. I know we've had a lot of conversation in the past about how complicated the formula is from an elementary school standpoint, and how difficult it is to manage that, and how that leads to kind of unclear expectations around what people are signing on for, and what they can expect on the other end. So we did have kind of a proposal that we discussed, and again, weren't ready to move forward on without getting feedback and a blessing of this group.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad this has been brought up. So I just was at a president's meeting over the weekend in Orlando, and this is a struggle across the state. And I was able to share that we're kind of well beyond other counties in the idea of this concept of kind of compensating people for covering classes and doing extra work. We've had the language, I think, for like 3 years. And I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of also look at how it's applied, who's eligible. And we have stories of special teachers who take on more kids and they say, oh, you don't get it. We've had people say, oh, well, you were missing 4 kids and I gave you 3, so you kind of owe me money today anyway. So, the concept around it and the application of it across the district in all of its iterations, I think it's good for us to like I said, we've had a couple of years, we've kind of dealt with the issues that have popped up, so it's good for us to look at how it's applied across the board and get a uniform message out about eligibility as well.
Okay, anybody else? Sure.
Will we share the, I don't know if I can call it a proposal or it was what we discussed when we were writing the MOU. Can you put it on the screen for everybody to see? Or?
I can try and do that. I know that that was sent to our team like as we were walking in. So if you'll bear with me, I'll try and get it up on the screen.
I can say that in our pre-meeting there was a lot of discussion around this, and I know that that our team members have a lot of questions and a lot of story to add to it.
Maybe it's called the discussion of a proposal or the proposal.
I think class coverage, it might be an option.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an option. If it's something you've discussed to solve the issue, it would be an option, so.
And I know that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, because
Right.
we obviously haven't had the story and some of that stuff around it, but.
Well, you just gave a little bit of the story with people covering classes and some people, and it being complicated at times at some levels as opposed to others, and special area teachers getting called more often and saying it's okay, you're not getting paid, or all the other issues. So we did get into some story, so if you want to move on to the option. Other than the sake of time. Can everybody see one screen or the other? Do we need to move charts around or anything? Good. Okay. All right, it's up now. Want to give everybody time to read it, or does somebody want to? Well.
While people are taking the time to read that, I can give the quick summary. So again, this is Article 10.04. There's currently language in there, like Kevin said, that addresses some of this. I think the big breakdown is the difference between elementary and secondary or special centers. I'll start with secondary and special centers because it's easier to explain. What we had there was $50 per day for daily coverage, or $60 per day for full semester coverage. Full semester coverage would be someone teaching 8 of 8. Daily coverage would be someone kind of standing in if someone was out, and so you would get that on a daily basis. I know that we were looking at that for, someone who's doing, what would be kind of the equivalent of that planning period. We did have some discussion on the difference between middle school and high school planning periods in terms of time, in terms of what the planning time available existing is. On the elementary side, the basic overview is that if someone's absent, it would give $300 to be divided evenly among the people providing coverage. So if 3 people split up someone's class, they each get $100. If 2 people split up someone's class, they each get $150. And that would be on a per-day basis for providing that classroom coverage. I know, again, some of the story is missing. There was a lot of discussion around, rationales for why we were looking at doing things the way that we did. I can tell you one of the biggest ones, again, on the elementary side is that we felt like it set a little bit clearer expectations on both sides, was a little bit more manageable, and then provided for better oversight in terms of where are people being asked to provide a lot of coverage, because that would all be matched up to what's put into leave management and where we have vacancies that we know are being recorded in the system.
Okay, Jill.
I just want to give Amy a minute to catch up.
Okay. Okay.
So I just have some questions and some concerns. I appreciate that there are discussions about these issues so that we can work to find an equitable resolution. So my concern at the elementary level is that a principal is being given $300 a day. So like William provided an excellent example. If one teacher's out and the class is split between 3 teachers, those 3 teachers would get $100. But then in another situation, in a different school, if there's 4 teachers out, the teachers get $75. And so, oh, it's $300 per teacher per day, not just $300 per school? Okay, just making sure I read that correctly, because elementary schools will receive $300 per absence per day. But I guess my concern is that depending on the school and depending on how those students are divided, at one school they could be getting $75 a day, but at another school they could be getting $150. So that still creates an inequity at the elementary. And then my other concern is that they have to provide 2 hours of coverage. And so that means that if a class is split among 4 teachers for an hour or 90 minutes, less than 2 hours, there's no compensation. However, at the secondary level, if a teacher is an hour late or 90 minutes late, secondary teachers are compensated for covering a period. And at the middle school level, a period is approximately 60 minutes. It's a little less than that. But at the high school level, a period is 84 minutes. So if I were at one of those schools, I would be paid to cover that time, but we're not compensating elementary school teachers for the same task. So that's a concern that I have.
Okay. Yes, Christina.
I have a couple questions about that. First of all, it says voluntary. So, is a teacher able to opt out? Say they have to do some planning and they need to be able to have some time to themselves. Can they tell an administrator, I can't do it today, or I need 2 hours of my own planning time or whatever, and be able to opt out of doing that assignment? My second question is, it says that it's classroom teacher. Specialists are pooled all the time, and coaches and whatever other acronyms are out there, they're all pooled to cover these classes, especially these days. We don't do at the elementary level, we don't do a 2-hour time period. So if I have a planning period in my schedule and I'm asked to cover, I'm never going to get compensated because I will never have 2 hours unless it's an entire day that I would be given to give, planning. And then it still doesn't address the extra students that I may take on as my role as the art teacher in my classroom. Doesn't address that.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next. Does anybody have answers for those questions? All right, Anna?
So I have a question and kind of a little bit of story. Because the language there says that it would be divided up between 2, 3, or 4 teachers. So typically in an elementary level, we would divide that class up between the grade level. So if we have 8 teachers, we would divide a class by 7, and everyone would get a few kids. So I'm a little concerned on how those teachers then, if we're only divided between 2, 3, or 4, would be decided, and who would be responsible for deciding that. I don't want any inequities coming of, well, how come they always pick these 3 teachers, or how come these 4 teachers are always picked? I know today we had 3 teachers and a grade level out of a 7-person team. So if all of those kids were split, like, is there a maximum amount to this? Like, how high are we going to keep putting kids in the room, in classrooms with teachers? And then, also, like, thinking of the special area teachers, we're out of art and music teacher right now. Our PE coach is taking on their classes every period, every day, 2 extra classes. So like at what category? Because that would never be, I mean, I guess they're meeting the 2 hours throughout the day, but not the 2 hours of that teacher allotted $300. And then, so what would that coach be compensated for? Or would they, like, where would they fall in that language, so?
As we said, elementary is very complicated. Anybody have anything? Shannon?
I can try to answer or clarify Ms. Witten's one question regarding the equity when we split, right? So I think the original intention was to split per grade level, because we do have schools with 2 on a grade level all the way up to 10 on a grade level. And so to make it equitable, we thought we did kind of think that through, knowing that if you split one class between 3 other classes, they're going to have more kids, which would mean more money, right? But if you split between the 7, like you mentioned, they would have less kids. They may have 2 or 3 additional kids in their class, which would be then equitable for the money that they would receive, which would also be less. So it kind of makes our thought behind that was to try to make that as fair as possible, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Kevin?
As I sit here more and more, I'm often reminded of what Carl often says, and that we're negotiating for the fringes. You know, we're negotiating for the person that says, hey, you had 4 kids out today, and I only gave you 5, so I'm only going to pay you 1. And that happened 2 weeks ago. Or the art teachers who were out, they said, well, you don't ever get coverage. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to be as specific as possible. And we need to maybe say grade level, you know, this is up there as an option, so we can do whatever we want to do it. But, you know, we maybe need to say the elementary level divided by grade level, or come up with a formula working with kind of the people that teach specials, both at the secondary and elementary level, about how that looks in their room. Because again, we need to, you know, kind of not think about the vast numbers of administrators who know the intent and go, yeah, this makes sense and this is what I need to do, but really for the ones where there appear to be some shenanigans. And like I said, we've had the language for a couple of years, so we've kind of seen some of the pain points and kind of some of the things that people do to circumvent as it's currently written. So I think as we move forward, the more detailed we can get, and we're not going to be able to think of everything. Honestly, I think we thought of everything 2 or 3 years ago when we did this, and you know, there are things that came up that we didn't anticipate. So I think and all the heads in the room, be they, teachers, administrators, district level people, we've got enough brain power in this room to think about enough circumstances that we can hash it out. And so again, I think the more specific we are, the better.
Anna?
I wanted to thank you, Shanna, for clarifying that, and that made sense to me. I just wanted to clarify a little bit as well. What I was also referring to is who selects what teachers, if there's 2 teachers out, who selects which 2 or 3 teachers we're going to put that into? Is that an admin decision? Is that a grade level chair decision? Because is it based on like a rotating schedule of people? So that way it's not the same people over and over again. Like everyone has a fair shot of taking on additional students and earning extra money. I do think that as many times as we've had to split kids, that it would be nicer to take a couple extra more and get a little bit more. Because even 2 or 3 students, while they're not a lot, that can really make a big difference in your classroom. But you just don't see that reflected in your pay currently. You have to have a lot of splits for it really to be like, oh, I got some split money. And so I think that this would be a more easily felt in the paycheck standpoint. I'm just a little bit like some clarification on who and how that would be decided. Does that make sense?
Okay, Will?
So a couple of things, and I know that the question about the 2, 3, 4 employees, I think that was put in there again to account for different size schools. I wouldn't imagine that Pine Island Elementary or Beach Elementary is going to be splitting them up 4, because I don't think they have, like you're saying, 4, 3rd grade teachers. One of the other things that I know came up, and just to highlight it, is the part about employees not being disciplined for minor performance issues. I think again that was meant to help make sure that if someone is taking on this additional assignment, that there's going to be a certain amount of grace there. If you're taking 2 or 3 extra kids, we don't want to be jamming people up for minor disciplinary issues or things that might happen in classes. But I would go back to kind of that the part that you were just talking about, Anna. There is the language in there about class coverage is on a voluntary basis first, and then on a rotation if you're not able to find people. I would imagine that most schools have a system set up for that, and if it wasn't used in the past, that it will be maybe more well-worn after 1 year of a pandemic going into a second. I know that creates some manageability issues, and I think we can kind of work through some of those. Saw a couple of you guys, seems like that might not be universal or consistent across the place, just based on your reaction.
All right, I had Jessica, Jill, and then Christina. I'm sorry, she's got it.
Can we call for a caucus after that?
Sure, after Jessica?
Yes.
Okay, is that all right with everybody on caucus after Jessica's speech? Okay.
Unless Jessica wants the caucus first.
Oh, here you go, Jessica.
I guess when Anna was talking about the 2, 3, or 4, and then Shannon mentioned the more, I just was looking for clarification. It says 2, 3, or 4. So if you are at a school where there is additional teachers and you split them beyond that, is the expectation that you don't get compensated because your class size, you're only increasing by 2 or 3, so does that not warrant additional compensation? Or just a question with the language, or is it 2, 3, or 4?
I think the option as it is right now is that 2, 3, 4, 4. The other question would be if you're Pine Island Elementary or Beach and you're the only teacher, then what happens? Again, this was just kind of to start the conversation. So that's flexible. We can throw other options up there and talk through those if we think that would work better.
Okay. With that, how long do we need to caucus for? 15 minutes? Okay. TALC, you gonna caucus? No. Yes.
Are we early? Want to caucus? Yes.
Yes, okay.
What I see, yeah.
All right, after talking with Will, Kerr, and Kevin, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get caucus reports from both teams, and we never set up interest around this particular option, so maybe do some interest. And then I've been told that there are a lot of questions. So what we thought might be more helpful instead of talking in circles tonight is if, once we finish the interest, we do a checkout, and then we come back, you send your questions to Kerr, and Kerr can bring them, and Kevin can bring them to labor management and get some answers before we come back next time, and then we can start with this issue next time. Will that work for everybody? All right. So, Will, you called for the caucus.
So I'm going to try and put the option that we had back up there. We talked about a couple of different things, and again, this was a lot of the people on our team's first time seeing and talking through some of the issues. This is something that I think there have been a couple planning conversations on the academic services side of things, and then we brought this to labor management. So I think there's obviously benefit in having a bunch of people to beat up the plan and tell us what worked and what looked like it wasn't going to work. Two of the areas that we focused on were number one, kind of the distinction between classroom teacher and non-classroom instructional, wanting to make sure that we knew where those lines are drawn. There's some references to that in one of the appendices of the contract, but I think, again, as people understand it, kind of plain language, that maybe doesn't fit kind of the common sense definition of that. And then the other piece was we talked a lot about some of the equity, especially for the elementary side, some of the historic issues that we've encountered, and really what the plan would look like in terms of, does it meet the needs of staff and students? Specifically when we're talking about some of our ESE students and the need to make sure that they're still receiving services that they're entitled to receive, and that there's not issues with instructional loss when you're pulling people like reading specialists or literacy coaches who are there, obviously to provide a specific support to the classroom. And one other thing, just to, I guess two other things to reiterate. I think the language that we had up there said per day. I think that was an earlier draft. We had changed that to per hour for the secondary to account for the difference in middle and high planning periods. And then, again, just to reiterate, a lot of that at the secondary level is to make up for the loss of planning. That if I'm losing 90 minutes during the day, that's so that if I have to take 90 minutes somewhere else, that I'm basically being compensated for that. And then Mike just motioned to me also that this is ESSER funding that we're talking about, so this wouldn't be necessarily a permanent long-term shift. It would be something that we would try for this year, maybe through an MOU, and so we can always come back and beat up more of the details once we see what it looks like and how it actually works in a school-by-school, classroom-by-classroom basis.
Okay, thank you. Jessica, did you want to add to the caucus report?
I want to transfer something Will said that didn't make it up there to number 2, which is specific to ESE, that group, and then Will mentioned literacy, and then what he did mention would be also MTS.
Okay, thank you.
And ESOL, I think, was the other big area that we talked about.
And ESOL. All right, TALC report. Kurt has mic. Or
All right, let me get my notes here. The district caucus went about like ours, with just a lot of questions and a lot of discussions about some historical challenges as it relates especially to elementary and elementary specials, and equity around what happens if a special teacher is out. And then, you have an art teacher doing double duty, or what happens if everybody gets shoved into PE or taken to the media center. And thank you for clarifying the per day versus the hourly rate, and hopefully it captured the $50 or hourly rate, whichever one is higher. Is that correct? Yeah? Okay. We also had a lot of questions from the team around coaches covering for open classes, that some are doing lesson plans, and all the duties that come with that, and just general concerns around if all this covering is happening, when does the employee have the time to do their primary job? So I think if our team can generate a list of questions, then we can start hammering this out at labor management. If anyone else wants to add to the caucus report, I'll happily pass this down.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you for those reports. As I said, we kind of got right into this and skipped our interest in solving this problem. So for those of you who are new, an interest is the answer to the why we're doing this. Are we doing this for equity? Are we doing recruitment, retention, student achievement, or anything else you think that might be an interest? And we'll write it up on the chart. Kurt.
I think
Shannon.
Well, here, so that you don't have to do two.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say employee morale.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've got Shanna next, and then Carl and Amy, or Amy and Carl, either one, and Mike.
I believe that the why is because we're in an emergency crisis situation and our employees are doing it already and they need to be compensated for the extra work they're already doing.
Sorry.
Good. Okay. Amy.
So, yes, I second employee morale, and then also employee recruitment and retention. We want to try to ensure that in this emergency situation, with everything that everybody's going through, and kind of recap that at the beginning of our meeting, that we're compensating people as best we can for going the extra mile, for having to do all of these things that are adding additional responsibilities and duties on every day. And if that will help us get some people in the door as well, then it will begin to bring down, the need to keep asking people for more and more. So just trying to cover that interest.
Thank you. Carl.
We're looking at fairness and how to do it where it's fair for so many that are impacted by it. And it's going to, something that we're going to really to collectively have to work on.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Clarity.
Clarity, okay. Anybody else have an interest we need to put up there? Will?
Student achievement.
Okay. Carl?
Compliance in reference to the job responsibilities that some people have to make sure that we're compliant, allow them to meet those job requirements if they're also part of the coverage.
Kurt?
Manageability, not just on the employer side, but just the employee trying to manage all the different.
Just a general all around
management.
concern for everybody. Anything else? Will?
I think another one, and I know like we said, this is taking place already, but just something so we don't lose sight of it. Health, safety, welfare.
Okay. Bob? And just like Norm, we can, when we talk about this issue next time, we can add additional interest if you think of something. Bob?
Professionalism.
And by professionalism, you mean?
Treating everyone as a professional, from top down.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, as I said, we can add to these interests the next time, but remember, try to remember some of these things when you're thinking of questions or you're rereading this again, this proposal. So just think of some of those interests we just put out, and when you get the minutes, you can check it out too. With that, I said we would do a little checkout, and unless somebody has something else they want to continue, Carl?
What I kind of wanted to emphasize that this bargaining is unlike any other we've had. In other words, you know, so many times we have district side, association, and so forth. We are so intertwined with the issues that it's going to be more important that as we bring in the challenges of what we do, that we are also subsequently trying to bring in solutions. I mean, we talk about it, but I just have never seen a time where it's more imperative, so that as we're working in our silos, but we're also thinking of the challenges that we all face, so that we know we need to have fairness for teachers, but also we want to make sure that we put something in place so it makes it easier for principals to follow. Because this is complex, and so it's going to be so important that we do bring everything up to the table so we can work through it, because it is going to be difficult, but we're going to try to hopefully avoid those unintended consequences. So, like, I think it's important. In that room, we were trying to figure out we were knocking our heads up trying to figure out all of the pieces, and I think the teachers are also trying to do the same thing. So let's be prepared to bring those forward with solutions so that we can kind of get through it. And because we're all, I think I can tell we're all struggling with it. But the clearer that we can make it, from both sides is going to really help us get through it.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Anything else? Will?
I would just add to that and to, you know, what Bob said about professionalism. I think that, you know, when we leave this room, you know, there are going to be a lot of opinions shared with us. Some of them will be coming from, you know, people that are, you know, our colleagues that are friendly about their approach to it. I would hope that that would be consistent. You know, I know a couple people mentioned, you know, an interest in kindness. I think everyone here is here, you know, because of the unique perspective that they bring to the table, and I would hope that, you know, that criticism is going to come, but I hope that it's still respectful. I hope that it's still with, you know, the end goal in mind, and that it doesn't discourage anyone, you know, at the table currently from continuing to engage in this process. I know, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think we're kind of modeling the behavior that we hope to see in other places. It's difficult to do, but I know that, you know, we're professionals. That's why we're here at the table.
Thanks, Will. Just as we did a check-in, we're going to do a checkout today. Some nights we don't, but tonight we're going to, since we have some time. And the checkout is in 3 words or less. what is your impression of the IB process? And I'm doing this because we have so many new people in with us, but it's always good to hear from the veterans as well. So, anybody want to start? Will?
You said 3 words or less?
3 words or less. I know, Will.
Can someone else start and then I'll come back? Because I think I'm already like 50 words.
I'll start.
Okay, Carol.
Start down here. I'll do it in 1 word.
All right.
Refreshing.
Okay. Okay. Kevin?
Interested in solutions.
Okay.
Equitable.
Okay.
Collaborative.
You can piggyback on somebody else's. I'll let you do that tonight.
I was gonna do collaborative, but also meaningful.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay with it.
Productive.
Slowly but surely.
Insightful.
Hold on a second, let me catch up. Okay.
Engaging.
It always works.
Clear and organized.
Mine's 4, I'm sorry. Always been a fan.
What was that one?
Clear and organized.
I got that.
Always been a fan.
All right, we'll let the A in there.
Shared responsibility.
Okay.
Promising.
Stole this from Carl, but avoid unintended consequences.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Bonnie, she's taking over, so go ahead.
Slow but works.
Not the board meeting.
You're just productive.
Slow but productive.
Collaborative.
You can just check that one. Carl?
Never more needed.
Collaborative.
Focused.
Okay, we already had that one too, didn't we? We didn't, no, focus. And Will? Last but not least.
Comprehensive and deliberate.
Oh, very good. All right, and with that this evening, thank you, everyone. Nice job. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Be safe going home.
We'll have to do it. We'll have to do it.